Good evening and welcome to the 7 o'clock news. I'm Badriya Saleh with the headlines for tonight. His Highness the Emir congratulates His Excellency the President of Turkey on restoring legitimacy and democracy in the Turkish government. A foreign ministry source appeals to all Kuwaiti citizens in Turkey to stay indoors in the wake of ongoing political developments. The Turkish president declares he is in control of the country as government forces fought to squish a coup attempt last night. And French police arrest 5 people in a raid in Nice in connection with the truck attack that claimed the lives of at least 84 people. His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah sent a cable to His Excellency the President of Turkey, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, congratulating him on restoring legitimacy and democracy to the Turkish government. His Highness the Emir applauded President Erdogan for safeguarding the nation's constitutional achievements that were instrumental during the recent turmoil in averting the Turkish people much agony and bloodshed. Furthermore, His Highness the Emir noted the support Turkey garnered from numerous countries in restoring peace and order to the nation. His Highness the Emir expressed deeply felt condolences to families of the deceased and wished speedy recovery to the injured, praying to Allah Almighty to bless Turkey with much security, stability, and prosperity. His Highness the Deputy Emir and Crown Prince Sheikh Nawaf Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah sent a cable to His Excellency the President of Turkey, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, congratulating him on restoring legitimacy and democracy to the Turkish government. His Highness Sheikh Jabr Mubarak Al-Hamid Al-Sabah, the Prime Minister, also sent a similar cable. A foreign ministry source appealed to all Kuwaiti citizens in Turkey to stay indoors in the wake of ongoing political developments. In a statement, the ministry urged citizens to contact the General Consulate in Istanbul and the Embassy in Ankara at the following numbers: 00905 3316 48479, 00905 4954 95494, 00905 4338 78989, 00905 3330 60644, and 00905 3330 88444. The ministry assigned the following 2 numbers in Kuwait for citizens to contact in case of emergency: 00965 9800 7888 and 00965 9800 7999. The statement also advised nationals planning to travel to Turkey to postpone such plans for their safety. Kuwait's Consul General in Istanbul, Mohammed Fahad Mohammed, urged Kuwaiti nationals in all Turkish cities to stay indoors for their safety. In a statement to Kuwait news agency, Mohammed said the embassy and the consulate formed a special team to follow up on the situation and receive help calls from all Kuwaitis. He added that nationals can call the consulate on the following numbers: 00905 30690 2097 and 00905 38767 0000, or contact the embassy directly at 00905 33164 8479. Kuwait Airways Corporation is suspending flights to Istanbul until further notice due to the political developments in Turkey. KAC also announced rescheduling flights heading west that are connected to Turkey's course for security reasons. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan declared he was in control of the country today as government forces fought to squish a coup attempt during a night of explosions, air battles, and gunfire that left dozens dead. Hours earlier, as the coup attempt got underway, his office declined to say where he was, but he gave an interview later yesterday. According to a transcript of his remarks provided by his office, Erdogan later warned coup supporters that they will pay a heavy price for their treason to Turkey. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan spoke to crowds of jubilant supporters in Istanbul, vowing to stay in power hours after an army faction dramatically tried to topple the government. Erdogan's arrival in Istanbul from the coastal city of Marmaris came after Prime Minister Binali Yildirim said the situation in the country was largely under control. The army's acting chief of staff, Ahmet Dündar, told a news conference that 104 coup plotters were killed. He said that 161 in total were killed in the violence, 47 of whom were civilians. This comes as sounds of huge blasts, including at least one bomb that hit the parliament complex, continue to echo across the capital Ankara and Istanbul throughout the morning. Hiba Abdurrahman has more details in the following report.
Turkey's Prime Minister Binali Yildirim said that some 2,839 soldiers, including high-ranking officers, have been arrested over an attempted coup that is now over. In a night he called a black stain on Turkish democracy, 161 people had been killed and 1,440 wounded. Explosions and gunfire were heard in Ankara, Istanbul, and elsewhere overnight, and thousands of Turks heeded President Erdogan's call to rise up against the coup plotters. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan blamed a parallel structure in a clear reference to Fethullah Gulen, a powerful but reclusive US-based cleric whom he accuses of fomenting unrest. However, in a statement, Gulen rejected any suggestion he had links to the events, saying that he condemned in the strongest term the attempted military coup in Turkey. An attempted Turkish military coup appeared to crumble in the early hours of Saturday after crowds answered President Tayyip Erdogan's call to take to the streets to support him. Erdogan, who had been holidaying on the coast when the coup was launched, flew into Istanbul before dawn on Saturday and was shown on TV appearing among a crowd of supporters outside Ataturk Airport, which the coup plotters had failed to secure. The coup attempt began late Friday with a statement from the military saying it has seized control to reinstall the constitutional order, democracy, human rights and freedoms to ensure that the rule of law once again reigns in the country for law and order to be reinstated. Fighter jets buzzed overhead, gunfire erupted outside military headquarters, and vehicles blocked two major bridges in Istanbul. Soldiers backed by tanks blocked entry to Istanbul's airport for a couple of hours before being overtaken by pro-government crowds carrying Turkish flags. But the military did not appear unified, with top commanders taking to television to condemn the action and other troops back to their barracks. Factions within the military carried out the attempt coup. The leader is not yet known, but the Prime Minister said that colonels were involved. According to Turkish intelligence sources, there are signs that Gulen is working closely with certain members of military leadership against the elected civilian government. The president of a group that formats Gulen's ideas denied the charges. Earlier in the evening, the alliance said that they condemn any military intervention in the domestic politics of Turkey. In the first signs of a crackdown, the government announced this morning 2,700 judges were suspended from duty. Gulen is accused of having infiltrated the judiciary. Turks appeared to heed the calls of Erdogan and Turkish Prime Minister Binali Yildirim, taking to the streets of Izmir and Istanbul, waving Turkish flags. Crowds also began gathering in the Taksim Square in Istanbul. Clashes took place between supporters of the ruling Justice and Development Party (AKP), police and soldiers across Istanbul, with reports that civilians had been shot dead. Yildirim said that while the death penalty is not permitted under the Turkish constitution, they will consider legal changes to make sure this does not happen again. Soldiers blocked entry to Ataturk Airport, where 4 tanks were stationed. 2 other tanks and a military vehicle were stationed in front of the VIP terminal. Reports said that the soldiers had entered the tower and stopped all flights. Hours later, the government had regained control of Istanbul's main airport. The state-run Anadolu news agency said that the operations at the airport were back to normal and that flights would begin again at the morning. This comes as the Turkish military helicopter carrying 8 supporters of the coup against the President Tayyip Erdogan landed in the Greek city at noon local time, several Greek officials said. The helicopter landed after sending a distress signal. All 8 people were arrested by Greek police as soon as it touched down the changes of illegal entry into the country and transferred to the local police station.
The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia welcomed the restoration of normalcy in Turkey today with President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's government after a failed military coup last night. For his part, British Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson said he had spoken to his Turkish counterpart, Mevlut Cavusoglu, to underline support for Turkey's government after the attempt. The Foreign Office advised Britons in Turkey to stay indoors, avoid public places, in particular demonstrations, and to remain vigilant. It said the situation now appears quieter in Istanbul, but there are reports of tank fire and small arms fire in Ankara. British Airways said it is canceling all flights to and from Turkey. Meanwhile, France strongly condemned the attempted coup and urged respect for constitutional and democratic order in the country. A foreign ministry statement said the attempted coup calls for the strongest condemnation from France. The statement also praised the great maturity and courage of the Turkish people, which came out in support for Turkey's institutions. The EU also condemned the attempted coup and reiterated full support for the democratic institutions of the country. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry says Washington and Moscow reached a common understanding of the steps now needed to get Syria's peace process back on track. The Russian foreign minister also said he and Kerry had made progress over Syria after talks that started yesterday morning and lasted deep into the night. At a news conference alongside Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, Kerry identified 2 problems that have damaged an internationally brokered ceasefire in Syria: attacks carried out by al-Nusra Front, al-Qaeda's Syria affiliate, and what Kerry described as indiscriminate bombing by regime forces. French police arrested 5 people in a raid today in Nice in connection with the truck attack that claimed the lives of at least 84 people. Reports say 3 arrests were made today and 2 yesterday, including the attacker's estranged wife. Meanwhile, the IS militant group claimed responsibility for the attack. French authorities said they were checking on the claim. French Interior Minister Bernard Cazeneuve said that France was facing a new type of attack method in which individuals did not need access to weapons, training, or experience of combat. The attacker, Mohamed El-Bakali, drove a truck into crowds marking Bastille Day before he was shot dead by police. French ministers arrived at Elysée Presidential Palace in Paris this morning to attend an emergency defense meeting called by President François Hollande. Thursday night's attack in the Riviera city of Nice plunged France into new grief and fear just 8 months after gunmen killed 130 people in Paris. In Nice, the truck zigzagged along the city seafront as fireworks displays marked the French National Day. French authorities said at least 10 children were among the dead. UK Prime Minister Theresa May sent a strong signal that she will prioritize keeping Britain together over a swift exit from the EU, saying she will not trigger proceedings of Article 50 with Brussels, referring to the EU treaty provision that begins a 2-year exit process until she has secured a UK-wide approach to negotiations with Europe. The Prime Minister's visit, less than 48 hours after taking office, is aimed at showing her commitment to preserving the United Kingdom following the vote to leave the European Union. Sarah Glubb has more in this report.
UK Prime Minister Theresa May has sent a strong signal that she will prioritise keeping Britain together over a swift exit from the EU, saying she will not trigger proceedings of Article 50 with Brussels, referring to the EU treaty provision that begins a 2-year exit process until she has secured a UK-wide approach to negotiations with Europe.
Well, I think it would be inconceivable for any Prime Minister to seek to stand in the way of a referendum if that's what the Scottish Parliament voted for. And we've heard from other Conservative politicians in the past few weeks that that would be the wrong thing to do as well. So I work on the basis that trying to block a referendum if there's a clear sense that that's what people in Scotland want would be completely the wrong thing to do. But I am focused just now, as I have been since the day after the referendum, on protecting Scotland's interests. Scotland voted to stay in the European Union.
The Prime Minister's visit, less than 48 hours after taking office, is aimed at showing her commitment to preserving the United Kingdom following the vote to leave the European Union.
She's not going to trigger it until after the party conference and after enough discussion in Parliament. There are two opinions within the country and within the Conservative Party and within Parliament. Opinion one is mainly political. That we should not trigger Article 50 until we are absolutely ready and we have a team ready to negotiate the best outcome for us. And also, it's a bit of a Machiavellian way, is the more we delay it, the more pressure we can exert on the European Union, and the more of the contradictions when the European Union are going to bubble up to the surface, and other people would actually want their own referenda. Second opinion is an economist opinion, the city traders and the banks. Their assessment is the European Union as a financial zone, Eurozone, is unsustainable. The banks in France and Deutsche Bank might collapse within the next few weeks or few months, and the sooner we get out, the better.
The new Prime Minister suggested that she would be prepared to listen to any options brought forward by the Scottish Government, which has made it clear it intends to secure Scotland's continued place in the EU after it voted overwhelmingly to remain in the 28-country bloc. However, May appeared unwilling to consider a second referendum on Scottish independence. By linking Article 50 to a common approach across England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, May raises the prospect that formal Brexit negotiations may be delayed even further than anticipated. This is Sarah Glubb, Kuwait TV, London.
Asian and European leaders issued a joint statement that summarized the two-day 11th ASEM summit held in the Mongolian capital. According to the report, the chairman's statement highlights the discussions of shared common goals for a future, enhancing connectivity in all dimensions, as well as cooperation on political and security issues, among other topics. Mongolia's president said the two-day summit also breached the topics of boosting ties between Asia and Europe and refugee issues. The next ASEM summit will take place in Brussels, Belgium. China urged the United States and the Republic of Korea to stop deploying the U.S. missile defense system on the Korean peninsula. The call was made in Beijing today by Chinese Vice Foreign Minister Zhang Yusu while addressing the opening session of the 5th World Peace Forum on the Order of Common Security. Yusu described the anti-missile defense system deployment as undermining factor to the strategic balance and stability on the Korean peninsula and in the region. Before we end, here is a quick reminder of tonight's headlines. His Highness the Emir congratulates His Excellency the President of Turkey on restoring the legitimacy and democracy of the Turkish government. A foreign ministry source appeals to all Kuwaiti citizens in Turkey to stay indoors in the wake of ongoing political developments. Turkish president declares he's in control of the country as the government forces fought to squish a coup attempt last night. And French police arrest 5 people in a raid in Nice in connection with the truck attack that claimed the lives of at least 84 people. For a chance to see our reports again, please visit our YouTube channel at MOI Kuwait News. Thanks for watching and have a good evening.